figured something out. That post office is fine, and I $500 to store it. But you don't have to.
You never have to bring water to the water company, Debbie. All right, folks, Les is supposed to be here, but in the interest of having an efficient, even more efficient meeting than usual, let's get started. The weather was nasty coming down, and I want everyone home safely and hopefully before it gets too dark. Welcome to the March meeting. We will begin with an introduction to a new face on our board. Ms. Debbie Ladyman from District 2 is taking Sue's place, kindly stepped up to serve, ran uncontested, so we welcome you very much to the board.
Yep.
Look forward to working with you. The second point is there is a Board of Directors updated information sheet that you should have seen in your packet. If you have any corrections to your personal information on that sheet, please see Adam and or Andrew at the end and get that corrected. Has everyone had a chance to look at the February 22nd annual board meeting minutes?
Move for approval?
Second.
I had two.
You said you wanted the meeting.
Keep that up. This is good. Just two quick things. I did see, I believe it said that the meeting was at Riddle Point Park in the
Oh,
minutes.
yeah.
And if it was, man, I was really not with the program. So it was here. And then I believe it said that there was approval of the December meeting minutes and not the January
I
25th
did see that.
meetings.
Where do you see that?
In the very beginning.
In the very beginning.
It's just a wrong
On the list.
place
So,
and a wrong date.
I amend my motion to say I approve the minutes as amended.
A second, please.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Just little dumb things. Okey doke. Treasurer's report. Mike is not able to be with us tonight, so I'm going to ask Adam to quickly run through highlights there for him.
The season is, well, we started selling passes here recently. Our total income in January was $13,031.05. A lot of that is the subleases, which are starting to come in. And our expenses,
And this is for 2 months, right? Is this for January and February?
this is for February,
Okay,
yes. We approved the January at the February meeting.
gotcha.
And then for our expenses, we had total expenses of $15,567. Primarily that we have salaries and wages. Two of the big expenses, we did have regular gas and diesel fills, which were about $3,500, $3,500 for that. For our vouchers that we have, on the allowance of vouchers, it was 5 pages. The total vouchers are $12,586.47, which includes our checks and then our net pay. And if there's no questions on that, I will seek a motion to approve the reported claims for February.
I'll make that motion, Adam.
I just had a question, because we're paying Watkins twice, we're just catching up?
A lot of that just depends on the billing, when it gets dropped off. So we do pay them, well, they charge once per month, but sometimes if the check goes in at the end of the month, it doesn't get paid until the beginning.
Okay. And Kenny Clark we pay on a monthly basis?
Kenny Clark is an
Land use
annual,
agreement?
that land use agreement
Oh,
is an annual.
okay.
So we started, this is actually the 3rd year of a 3-year land use agreement where we pay him $1,000 per year to be able to keep our disposal site on his land.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I made the motion that we accept the vouchers for February 2018, and I
I
believe you
second.
seconded it, Laura. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Blair, Adam?
Yes, next up, we actually have a resolution. We were awarded $5,000 for vegetation control. We're kind of on a maintenance schedule, so they keep us at $5,000 for the treatment of Eurasian water milfoil, which is our primary invasive and nuisance vegetation on the lake. We do have to approve a resolution to accept the grant monies, and once we accept that, we can bid it out as part of our vegetation control program. So if everybody's had a chance to read over the resolution, we were conditionally awarded $5,000 grant for exotic vegetation control from IDNR. and the Lake River Enhancement Program for $5,000.
Is the word condition based upon the fact that it's gonna be half of whatever we spend? Is that why it says it's conditional?
Yeah, it's conditionally,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's essentially a matching grant fund.
Okay.
So if we were to not treat your agent milfoil, we wouldn't get the grant
Right,
funds.
gotcha.
I'll just seek a motion to approve resolution 3/1801,
So moved.
vegetation control.
No, sorry.
Second.
I'll let you go next.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we accept resolution for the DNR Lair Grant management. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thanks, Adam, for pinch hitting there. Next on the agenda, we have Mr. Terry Quillman here to speak with us. He is the Monroe County MS4 Coordinator.
Yes.
And I'll let you tell us exactly what that is, since we're all just learning about you. And if you'd like, please come to the podium if
Do you
you're
have
comfortable.
An MS4 for the lake by chance? Or you're probably included in the county, in Lake Lemon?
Well, part of it, yeah. Part
Yeah,
of
we're
Lake
part of
Lemon
the
is in
county.
Monroe and part is in Brown County, so,
Okay. If you're not familiar with an MS4, it's I can't remember the acronym, to be honest with you. We're responsible for meeting IDEM's requirements for stormwater pollution and erosion control, that sort of stuff, under Rule 5, and for new construction, and we're required to meet our requirements under Rule 13 of, I can't remember the site on the Indiana code, but we're required to meet those those requirements by this IDEM.
okay.
So in doing that, our office, a week or two ago, got a call on a Friday night and said that some of the embankment out on South Shore Drive had sloughed off. We went out and on an emergency call, just put some riprap on it, tried to stabilize it, until we could step back and see where we are. And that's what's led me here. I've been in this job for about a year, a little over a year and a half or so, and my crews tell me that Lake Lemon has a conservancy district, and that you guys were doing a lot of maintenance or doing maintenance in the Lake Lemon area. Not knowing that, first thing that comes to mind is meet with the board and see what you're doing out there and try to coordinate whatever we might do out there to see that this doesn't happen again, or we stay on top of it. Prior to that, I went out and drove South Shore with another one of my staff, and I noticed that the road embankment, in several spots, you can see little cracks where it looks like it's pulling away from the road a bit, and it seems soft. That may be time of year or something with the freeze and thaw, but when I saw this one piece slough off, it's raised concern. So I don't know if you guys have a master plan on maintenance.
Monroe County Highway Department takes care of that. City of Bloomington Utilities owns the reservoir, so all the
Okay.
road maintenance out there is done by the county highway department.
Okay,
So the maintenance that we do is shoreline stabilization on non-roadways. So we
Okay.
do not do stabilization or maintenance along the causeways there.
okay, all right, that helps.
However, it has been becoming an issue of concern with residents and the board. And one of the things that we have been talking about is how we can work with groups or the highway department to potentially widen out the causeway and reinforce it better.
The South Shore.
The South Shore Drive, yeah, the causeway, I'm just referring to the road where it's the lake on either side.
Uh-huh.
And maybe that's something we could partner with you with on that.
Well, I may not be the right guy, but I'm the one asking the question here for the county.
Is that the area that this embankment went off, is right in between those two?
Yeah, I was along the long causeway. I saw the new riprap actually when
Yeah.
I was driving around the lake yesterday.
That was what we put in, and the concerning thing to me is you saw the asphalt start to roll over.
Mhm.
And we got in there, we put some signs up to alert people, and we're just kind of stepping back now, saying, how do we deal with this? Where do we go from here? There was I'm getting word again from my staff that says that you guys may have a dredger or something, that you do maintenance.
Yeah, we do have a dredge now, we do riprap, around. I would have to be really cautious with any work that we would do along the county roads though, with our equipment without having talked prior to the highway maintenance department, since they're ultimately
Okay.
responsible for that.
Well, this is my initial contact to start
Yeah.
people talking, what it amounts to. This just happened like a couple weeks ago, I think, a week or two ago, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
One of the things that I would suggest is probably from a logistical standpoint, it might be more beneficial for you to have some conversations with Adam.
Okay.
Identify, allows you to talk more specifically about what's going on, because from a board perspective, obviously, we have some
Right.
general understanding, but
Understand.
daily management is under Adam, so that's probably a good place to start, and then at the
Okay.
point that the board needs to take any formal action, then
Yeah.
bring us in.
This contact came from me.
Sure.
Talking with Adam Keith.
Adam Casey?
I said, Adam, did you talk to me on the phone?
I did speak with him.
I had my notes, Keith.
I would like to talk
Nice
to
to
you.
put a face with a name.
Well,
I would like to set up a conversation, because that has kind of been, we're able to get the highway department to repave the road proper along there, but it'd be nice to have some potential backing from IDEM to go to the county with and request that they reinforce the road along there.
Okay, well, I guess the action tonight is that Adam Casey and I.
Yeah, we'll get together with that.
Well, I
Okay.
think we're all getting to know each other, and I'm
Yeah.
glad you came forward, and
Sure.
I had not personally heard about that, but that's of great concern. We
Yes.
start to lose
Yeah.
pieces like that
Mm-hmm.
at a rapid rate, that's not good.
Is,
Are you-
is it your observation, and I don't know, if your work extends to this, is it just that the road is wearing out, or,
I've been asking
what-
questions about
Is
history
it-
of the road, how it got there, how stable is the road bed?
Mhm.
Pam brought up a question about a culvert that we had put in several years back, and it's
Right.
obviously high.
And causing a lot of issues.
I'm getting a lot of phone calls from it.
Would that be under your jurisdiction?
Because
The culvert is more than the road even.
Yeah, because they did, they kind of caved in there, this was
It's
2 to 3 years ago.
Mhm.
That section of the road caved in, and they came in and replaced that culvert, which was to allow flow of water between the essentially stormwater retention basin and the lake proper.
Right.
And then when they put the culvert back in now, even
Now it's
in flood
serving-
conditions almost, it's not even allowing it. And that's actually resulted in a huge blue-green algae problem in late July, because there's just no water movement. And I think, are you located in Monroe County?
Yes, we're in the Showers building.
All right. Well, I will reach out to you, and
Okay.
let's set up a meeting and have a discussion.
That's best not take more time, but this is my initial contact with you all.
Well, we appreciate
Sure, we
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time to come.
Okay.
If you don't care to sit through the rest of the meeting, we're happy to.
I'm going home.
Don't blame you. It's nice to meet you, Terry. Thank you for coming.
Nice to meet all
We'll
of you.
contact us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
I'll be
one.
in
You
touch
too.
next week. So I'll be in touch next week.
Yeah, just give me a call when you set something up.
Perfect.
All right, thank you very much. Mary Jane, Strategic Planning Committee update,
Yes.
please.
We had, the committee had its last meeting on March 9th, which now seems like I guess that was 20 days ago. The Lake Task Force reported at the meeting that the contract with Shrewsbury has been executed, and everything is moving forward with that. And at that meeting, Malcolm and Frank and Adam were going to be scheduling a kickoff meeting with Shrewsbury. Has that happened?
Yes, Frank was not able to attend it, but Malcolm and myself were there with Sam, who's the project lead, and actually the president of that part of the company, and another guy that's going to be helping with the design. And it was a really good kickoff meeting, kind of talked about some of our initial thoughts, what we're looking to accomplish, what our concerns were. And right now we're kind of in the fact-finding phase. We're going through a lot of the reports that we used to have and going through our bathymetric studies and trying to get as much information as we can They have had additional contact with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who's gonna be planning a conference call this year soon just to discuss stuff a little bit more before we have our official meeting. In the kickoff meeting, they did believe that we would be able to get IDEM, DNR, and Corps of Engineers all in one meeting to kind of knock that out initially. That way, as we're starting to plan our conceptual designs, we can take into account their concerns to increase the approval once we get to the permitting phase. So right now, we're in the fact-finding phase, so the very early stages. Along with that sediment management, I have been forwarding, we applied to also Lake and River Enhancement, we got the vegetation grant, we applied for a $50,000 grant for design build, which would essentially knock us up to bonding level plans. And I've been keeping in contact with Greg Bieberdorf, the head of the LAIR program at IDEM, and as soon as they execute the contract, send them the proposal from Shrewsbury, and kind of talking about the need to execute this as quickly as possible and the benefit the finances can have. So I've sent that out to the entire LAIR DNR section, just letting them know. So hopefully we can up the odds of gaining some money there.
That's great. We additionally are going to focus as they work, as the Lake Task Force and the committee works with Shrewsbury, on coming up with 3 concepts that we can then present back to CBU and make a final decision. And the timeline, the general timeline that they've set is to have that a final decision on the design by August. So, there'll be more coming back to the board and obviously more discussion. What we're thinking is that would likely, if we meet that deadline, that would likely be the right time at the end of the summer to schedule a large public meeting so we can, have everyone that's available come to a meeting and learn about that. On the financial management side, Malcolm reviewed information that he had obtained from IDFA. Do I have that right? And he and Lance are going to follow up on pursuing that relative to bonding. On the charitable giving front, the mission statement for the charitable fund has been reviewed by the Monroe County Foundation, and they were very complimentary of it and thought it looked good. And Angela Parker was reviewing it as of our meeting. Have we heard from her?
No, we have not.
Okay.
Sent that right before there. So she's reviewing both contracts with Monroe County Foundation and Brown County Foundation, and they're very similar. So I'm hoping we can use essentially the same contract and one resolution to approve both those. So those will be
At the April meeting.
We will have them at the April meeting.
Yeah, we had hoped that we would have the go-ahead to have a resolution for the board at this meeting, but it will get moved to April now.
So we're gonna have fund agreements with both of those community foundations for our charitable giving.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the committee tentatively, with the board's okay, has decided to call the fund the Lake Lemon Enhancement Fund. And it will be the same name in both foundations. Let's see. Kathy McClure, I'm just so delighted that Malcolm's wife joined the committee, came with 2 proposals that you will see in your board packets. One is to start an e-newsletter, and I think that's going to be a great communications vehicle, not just for the big dredging project, but just to get us a lot more connected. Kathy seems to have a lot of ideas about that I think will help us move toward really bringing the community together as we go forward. So one is for the newsletter, and we would do that through Constant Contact. And since we had this discussion, I've been seeing ads on television for Constant Contact, and anyway, they look like a great help in making something that can be a dredge not be such a drudge. The other great news was that Kathy has volunteered to be the editor of the newsletter, which is usually the hardest job to fill. So with the board's permission, we're going to go ahead and start to kick that off. She also presented a proposal for something she called Lemonade Day.
Can I ask you this about the newsletter?
Sure.
So articles and content and approval and everything, she's just gonna kind of do all that? Or somebody's gonna have input to ideas? Or how do we control kind of what's getting out there?
I would think we would do it through the strategic planning committee meetings.
Okay,
We'll
so
do
you
it
guys
through
will
that,
approve
and
it.
then Debbie, you probably, as a new board member, don't know this. We developed a media relations policy.
Uh-huh.
So I would anticipate that we'll come back to the board with the prototype of here's what are the regular features.
Okay.
And then if anything controversial or larger comes into play, we would certainly seek Pam and Adam's okay before we
Okay.
published.
Okay.
But that, great question.
Okay.
And I noticed that there were some rules set up, like no editorials and all that kind of stuff, which
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think is
Good,
excellent
yeah.
idea.
Yeah, we want to
Yeah.
keep focused
Just-
on
Just the facts.
the facts.
The one thing I did notice is that it was suggested to include no advertisements in it. That's certainly not a legal requirement for a governmental newsletter. I know, for example, a lot of park systems, ours doesn't, but a lot of park systems within their program guides, they send out
Get
to
some
the community.
sponsorship
Will have
grants.
sponsorships to help defray the expenses. so.
And that might be something we'd actually want to consider.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would think
So-
so.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that it's not the position of the board, it's just people that are using that as a mechanism to advertise, so.
Mhm. So, okay, before we publish, we'll come back. Let's just say we'll come back with a draft at the April board meeting so that everybody can kind of get a sense and before we kick this off.
So you're
'Cause
planning on issuing in May, then? That's-
yes.
Okay.
And we also haven't determined regularity, because I think there'll be some issue around how much news do we have and how often can we get it out there to people. But our hope is, as we go forward, is that we'll direct people back to the website for a lot of things, and we're going to be working on the website to keep it current with certain kinds of information as well.
So there'll be a link and the email will be on there if people don't get it.
And since it is digital, it's kind of a live
Right.
document, so we can put the community foundation stuff in, then we actually put
Yeah.
donate buttons directly in there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like about it is we can use their database for mass emailings, and they keep a live database, so as emails are no longer good, they'll actually cancel them out
Mhm.
and keep the new ones, so we can start doing our board announcements and the mass emails through that, and I can finally get rid of AOL.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, I see this as a great, I mean, the constant contact, I think, makes a lot of sense for a lot of our communications, not only the newsletter, which I certainly support, but also just our general communication. So it has a value beyond just the newsletter, which I think is good.
There's so many rumors get going, you know, I mean, they just like, where'd this come from, you know? So that would be helpful.
Maybe it'll make that next
We
door
need-
Lake Lemon die down a little bit, who knows?
It'll make what?
That next door Lake Lemon, you know, that.
Yeah.
Oh.
that Everybody's on.
Because it would cost money, would we want to have an
Yes.
official motion on that?
Yes, we would like to
I
have,
think
we
so.
would like to have a motion that the
Okay.
board approve our working with Constant Contact.
And would
Okay,
that
and
be
if
in
I
April?
remember, it was what, $45 a month, something like that?
Yeah,
Well, you recommended the email plus and
That's $70 a month.
Oh.
12-month prepay is what, $588?
Yeah.
Is that what it
Yes,
is?
yeah, get a
So
discount.
it's
for-
more like 49. Yeah. I move that we approve.
can we do it now?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
After the board has had a chance to review, we've got a quorum. Yep.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we allow the evolution of a newsletter with software to,
That was so cheap.
by
Yeah, that's
constant, what is it, constant comment? Is that-
Constant
that's the T.
Constant
That's the T.
contact. Yeah, and constant comment is the T.
Contact.
I do that too.
Any other further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There, it's legal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other proposal that Kathy presented at the meeting, and we all thought this was kind of a really fun idea as we discussed it, is the idea of the Lemonade Day.
Yeah.
And as a summertime community fundraiser. And she and Ann Roboleski and I are going to get together before our next committee meeting to kind of start to really put some meat around what would happen in that. One of the things, and I mentioned this to a couple people before the board meeting, that I thought of was if we're going to do tours around the lake, house tours, that we might want to involve some of the local realtors, because it might be an opportunity for them to show off some properties that they have for sale, and that would give us access. One of the issues is we need permission from freeholders to let us come in and see their houses on this tour. But we've heard that I know from living in Chicago that there were garden tours and house tours all over the city.
Indianapolis.
And I know a lot of communities do that, and they're usually very successful. So this might be a real fun
So you would
event.
sell tickets.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this was such a common fundraiser. Last week at the Indiana Lakes Management Conference, Lynn Kreider, who heads the Watershed Foundation Northern Indiana, they actually use this as one of their big fundraising aspects. She gave a whole presentation on the Lake Home Tour, so I'll be getting documents from her. She'll be sending me kind of their information, so we can kind of use their base to start off and some outreach materials.
So you would do it all in the context of this one day, this one festival, or this is just a separate fundraising thing?
This, and I don't know that we know that yet.
Okay,
That it started out as one idea, but I think
Mhm.
it could be something that could be bigger than that. So
Creative.
we'll get back to you with more details as we create them. Our next, that's pretty much it for the meeting. Our next committee meeting is Friday, April 13th at 3:30 at the office.
Thank you very much. All good stuff. I was fascinated looking at that, all those ideas that Kathy helped us
Yeah.
start generating.
This is good stuff.
It is. Okay, managers report, Mr. Keith? I'm sorry. That was
Most of
Casey?
the manager's report, we have contracts that are yearly. First on the docket, we have Ken Mullis for lake debris removal. We hire Kenny every year. As most people know, all the debris ends up on the east end of the college right there. So we'll use the barge and sack up the debris there, then Kenny comes and will help us remove it. His prices have remained the same for, I think, as long as we've been using them, at $250 per truckload. It is a professional services agreement, so unless there are questions, I would.
How many truckloads? Like, on average?
Generally, I would say on average, probably
What's the
3 to
contract?
4.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever gone over
Right.
$1,000. I'd say
Okay.
average is 3. And they're big dump trucks, we can fit quite a bit of debris in there. So with that, I would like to seek a motion to approve professional services agreement with Kenny Mullis.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that we approve this agreement with Ken Mullis on lake debris removal. Is there
I'm
any
sorry.
further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, there being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks.
Next up, we have our stone hauling agreement. We do this every year just to try to lock people in to a nice rate for all the riprap and actually other stone that we use quite a bit at the disposal sites and around the lake. We mail it out for the big 3 companies, our Young Trucking, A Plus Performance, and Naylor. Naylor did not get back with us in time with the bid, so I propose that we go with the Young Trucking. They're 5 cents more per ton of riprap, but they are much cheaper on everything else. Graded riprap, almost $5 cheaper. 53s, which we use in the disposal site for our roads, $4 cheaper. Shot rock, which we do also use in the roads and disposal site, is half the price, $12 versus $24.
How can they do that?
A lot of it, sometimes they're companies, they can crush the stone themselves, depending on who they're going through. And most of what we get is the gabing and riprap. So they're probably assuming, Young has done this quite a few years, so they're probably assuming we're not gonna get that much 24-inch shot rock, so it's probably a bidding tactic, honestly.
Okay.
So with that, I would like to go ahead and seek stone hauling agreement approval with Young Trucking for 2018.
And again, about how much do we spend with them on an
We
annual basis?
budget, I have it written here. I wanna say we budgeted about $14,000 in riprap. We budget a total $18,000 income, which includes all of our private work, so it's the hourly wages and the stone. And I wanna say right offhand, I think it's right around 12,000 for stone that we budget.
And the amounts that we're purchasing, a portion of that is for product that we're using for Lake Lemon projects, and a good portion of it is product for.
In private, yeah, so we'll use the same stone and the same contract, whether we are riprapping along city land on the LLCD dime, or whether we're doing private work with the freeholders.
I move we approve it.
I'll second. Oops,
No,
good?
you can take it.
Okay,
That's
I'll
good.
second.
Les wanted to.
Oh, okay.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the stone hauling agreement with Young Trucking. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Next up, we have a fireworks contract. We're looking at using the same company as we did last year. Had really good reviews. Even though there was a little mishap on the finale there, but they promised me they're working on it. They said there's too many fireworks. They fire that off electronically and it burned up some of the cables, so they're gonna work on that this year.
Yeah, we were wondering.
So
if
we'll
any
know-
Sirens coming or what?
So we'll know when the show
You
actually
should know when it's
concludes.
over. They also do Monroe counties, they do Paoli, and that's kind of where we ran into the issue with kind of the odd dates. Monroe County is gonna be at the end of their fair, which I believe is Saturday. Paoli does it on the 4th. So my thoughts were that we do it on the 3rd, since everybody will have the 4th off. So by the time you go to bed after the fireworks, it'll be the 4th of July, and then we'll give us a rain date that same week on Friday. The other option would be potentially do a Friday, but we couldn't guarantee a rain date for at least another week or so. So my recommendation is that we do it on Tuesday night the 3rd with a rain date of Friday the 6th. The contract again is the same price, $6,500, and we generally make almost all that back between donations from freeholders and day of. I think last year we got $6,200 back.
Someone's probably gonna complain that will have trouble getting down here on a work night. However, I need to remind you that it's 9:45 before it's dark, so
Right.
there's time. My family, not that it's all about me, but has respectfully requested that nobody has to get up the day after the fireworks to go to work, because it's like our latest night of the year, and it's not pretty. Just saying. So if it's the 3rd and we have the 4th off, we can all be a little happier.
I have to work.
I'm sorry, Laura, you're in the
I do.
arena.
We're all be-
And it's my birthday and I have to work.
Any other input? That's from the Dugan household. All right.
I think those dates sound fine.
I-
How do
Was
you all
it-
feel about it? Is that cool?
So what was it, Tuesday the third?
Yeah, Tuesday the 3rd
Or
with the
Friday
rain
the
date
6th.
Friday the 6th.
Rain date of Friday.
Since the 4th's in the middle of the week and it's just
Hard.
awkward all the way around,
Yeah.
I think that's the best, these
Yeah,
are the best.
Adam and I talked about this. I started getting texts from families saying, when is it gonna be?
Yeah.
You know, so we
I
had
would
talked through it.
Move approval of the proposed professional service agreements with dates as proposed.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Michael moved and Laura seconded that we approve the 3rd and the 6th and approve this contract. All those in favor, if there's no discussion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, the Dugans will be happy.
It was interesting that we got the whole listing of what they're gonna be shooting off.
And it's generally a lot more than
Yes.
that. That's what they guarantee, and then a lot of times. they'll-
Check it off as.
Yeah, I wouldn't know the difference.
Right.
But last year actually got a lot more because he was piling it up.
Yeah.
So he actually threw in a lot of stuff that he had
I
like
wouldn't know.
laying out in his barn and stuff. So they're pretty good, and they really do it.
It's always.
It's not non-for-profit, but they do it not for profit. Since they're local, they put all the money into shells, which is nice. So we're not paying a huge overhead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up,
Always good.
next up, we have the conflict of interest policy. This is done every year. There's about 3 pages of the legal jargon on the back. Essentially, it's you're signing off saying you have no conflicts. I believe the only conflict we have would be the Shell Marina. So on the page to sign off on this, there is a part where you would just list the marina, association be marina pass sales, and then board just put down that you're a member. So I'm not sure if we need a motion for this, it's required, but.
But we can do it, just to be honest, if
Yeah.
you want to. I'll move that we, do we don't make a motion on this, no,
No.
that doesn't seem right. This is
The
a
only thing
protocol.
that typically what has happened in my experience is that if there is someone with a conflict, we as a board have to approve the conflict or
Which has already
acknowledge.
been,
the
Which has already
that's
been-
already been done.
Which
Yeah,
we
which
already did.
so-
Correct,
Yeah.
okay, so I think we're good, never mind.
All right, well, in that case, I'll
Pass
just
it down.
pass this down for everybody to
Perfect.
sign. And Laura, when we pass the other contracts, you gave me your conflict of interest form for that, so.
But you still want me to put those on there?
Just, there's a top part, and just
Right.
put the marina,
Okay.
the pass sales, and then that you're a board member.
And club agreement.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, next up we have the IU Ski Club Special Use Agreement. Really, the only thing I actually learned recently is that the clubs are not part of the university, so they are gonna have to file for their own separate insurance. They still are required to the same $1 million per occurrence liability that they'll be getting through the ski, or through their association. But they're not part of the university, and actually the university rowing just told the ski club and the sailing club they're no longer allowed at the rowing association, so they're looking for a place to keep their boats at. But
Is this something new or something we've always done?
this is brand new, so this is gonna allow them to put in, just a little catch up. They wanna put in a slalom skiing course
Yeah.
along the causeway, which they're gonna have to wait a while for the debris down. But it's gonna allow them to put a practice course, which will be sunk on the weekends. And they'll keep it up during the weekdays, so they can come out and practice for the skiing. And they have never done this before.
They
So
said they would
something
leave
that
it up.
floats Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, there's a kind of a lattice on the bottom, and they have
Uh-huh.
floats to pull it up, and then when it's not in use, they can take out the floats and it sinks to the bottom of the lake
so,
there.
so I thought, I kinda kept looking for a dollar amount, what are they gonna pay us for this, but there is no dollar.
This is not a
Nope.
dollar amount. And the only reason we make money, it's essentially the same contract that we use for the rowing club, but the rowing pays us for their special events. They pay a special event fee to host their regatta. So as of now, yes, you are correct that there is no dollar amount in there, and there is a liability factor.
Yeah, and how do the freeholders and everybody feel about, like, when are their events, are they gonna be clogging up the lake all the time?
They
I mean,
practice
I
in the
just-
morning time. They actually don't host events here, so they
Okay.
practice, and they said they're generally out there about 6 in the morning, then off by,
Okay.
say, 10 or so, once the boat traffic starts going.
So, they don't have any complaints from the fishermen, they're always
Yeah.
out there, early.
Not yet, not
Well, it's,
until,
it's kind of a new adventure, and
Yeah,
these.
well, the slalom course is a new adventure, but they've been on the lake.
yeah,
Correct,
yeah,
correct, yeah,
Using it.
sorry.
So in
Now, they
some ways,
did
this provides us-
offer to put or leave it up if freeholders wanted to use it. And I would like to try it.
We have quite a few people. I actually spoke with our insurance, Lance Eberly, former board member, and he said he's all for it as a skier. I've talked with the ski club about leaving it up through the weekdays. Then I'd like it down on weekends, as it's a liability. I have a lot of people not from the lake. It gets very crowded, and I don't need
Yeah.
people on
Makes
jet
sense to
skis
start.
doing a
Yeah.
slalom course.
Now, it does appear though currently, the rowing setup is in the same spot. So how's that gonna be?
So this would be
resolved?
just east of the current rowing course, and I have had them talk to Bob Kessler, the rowing course coach. So I made them get his blessing and tell them where it was gonna be, so it'd be a little bit further east along the causeway than what the rowing course is.
So that's enough room for them.
Yeah, and it is pretty deep water there.
Is it long enough? I mean, they're gonna have.
I was,
Yeah.
I think it is long enough, yeah, the course really isn't that long.
And how far off, and I know they showed us some maps, and just refresh my memory, how far off the bank is it gonna be?
I would assume it'd be similar to Seagull. I would imagine at least a couple hundred feet.
Yeah.
And the placement on this is just allowing them the authorization to put it there, but they'll have to work with me as far as where we're actually gonna locate it at.
Yeah.
Cause some of the issue that concerns me with that area is gonna be debris, and they're wanting to come on early in the year, and they may find out they're not gonna be able to ski in that location as early on. The other proposed location was in front of the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm not a fan of having a high-speed ski course in front of the Boys and Girls Club. There's really not a whole other spots along the lakes. I think this will be a trial run to see how it does there. And I guess historically there was a ski course that was also located in that same location. That's what I've heard.
On the, off the long
I've
causeway?
heard that from one of my neighbors too, that there used to be.
Off the causeway?
Yes.
So how many, like, but it's not gonna disrupt traffic, people are gonna be able to get through there, it's not gonna come out all kinds of like,
No, you'll still be able to get through there, and even when it's up, all the cables are more than 5 foot below, so you can, it'd be like similar to the rowing course where you'll be able to go through the course without worrying to interact with your boat.
Any
I'm
other-
trying to re-review the contract. Does the contract specifically say they have to coordinate with you as far as when they're putting it up and down?
It does not specifically say when they can keep it up and when they can keep it down, no.
Do we need to have that added? If you're really not, does it I didn't remember if it delineates it's only during the week. If you're saying no weekends, maybe we have to have that
yeah.
added.
Put that in there, yeah, and we can
Otherwise-
always do that, just add it to the contract if we approve it with changes.
Okay, because as it reads, I think you're right, Michael, I don't think it does
I
specify
mean,
that.
that way, while they said they would do that, and I want to trust them and that they would, that way we have the mechanism to, if we
yeah.
have an issue,
To say-
That makes good sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, to Debbie's point, I think if it ultimately is successful, it may be worthy to pursue in the future some type of financial contribution, but as
I
a
agree.
first-year
Yeah.
program, we're ahead because now we have protection if they get injured
Yes.
in the course of their activities.
Well, I got a thing in my mailbox saying they're gonna have a cookout that we're all invited to. Now, being as how they're leaving that area though, I wonder if it's still on.
Well, maybe they can rent the
It's
at
still-
Riddle Point Park.
Yeah.
Oh,
It is still on, it's still at the IU rowing thing.
Okay.
Yes, I like that, we should encourage that at Riddle Point Park.
it's April 23rd or
And I'm
something.
gonna go, I'm actually gonna talk with them to, cause they said they're gonna do detailing boats too, so I'm gonna test
Yeah.
their skills at detailing the patrol boat. Maybe we'll do it as a
Have those
freebie.
flyers gone
To
out?
raise money?
Adam, to all the,
Yes, yeah.
have those flyers gone out to our freeholders?
I think they put them in almost
They put
every
them in
mailbox
everybody's
around there.
mailboxes.
Yeah.
Oh, did they? Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't been out
No.
to the mailbox.
That would've been something to email that.
Yeah, and we could still email it out for their fundraiser, but.
Yeah.
That's
we
interesting.
Save emails for our fundraisers.
They'll be, yeah.
Well, and maybe, maybe we can partner with them on some fundraising stuff
Yeah.
as we go
Well,
forward.
they sure are an enthusiastic bunch.
They really are.
Let's give them a shot. Are there any other questions on that ski club agreement before we vote?
You just don't think it's gonna clog up the lake, like, it's not gonna bring about a lot of people and people aren't gonna be upset.
No, I don't think it will, and this will be a trial run, I mean, we can always.
It's weekdays.
This is on our side, so if it's not working out, we can
Sure.
give them like 60 days notice.
So does it,
Have it out of there.
yeah, where is the notice that we can?
Oh,
like,
we can terminate it at any
terminate
point.
it.
It definitely says that.
Mhm.
Plus, Debbie, if you think about it, they're gonna wanna be out there when no one's out there.
When no one else
Yeah,
is
they-
They
around.
don't want
want,
the
they
weight.
want
Yeah.
glass,
And
you know,
then
to ski.
It just says,
a breach, the non-breaching party may terminate it.
Well, just it gives them permission to install fixtures. If use of such fixtures to be discontinued by ski club or special use permit revoked by us, canceled or terminated for any reason, they shall be responsible for removing all fixtures within a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
So essentially, we can just change.
And they're already doing it. The thing that's different is there's gonna be a course.
and
Yeah.
insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, they're already out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would take a motion with the amendment to allow the ski course on weekdays and that it will be sunk on weekends.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve this agreement with the amendment. Sunk on the weekends, used during the week. Did I get that right? I got that
Yeah,
backwards.
no, that's right.
No,
Totally.
sunk on the
Yes,
weekends.
that's correct.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
All right, next up, we have Marvin Keenan, who's here in District 1, who has property on John Young Road, and has been in contact with the Conservancy before about being in the Conservancy and the taxes and potentially the option of opting out of the Conservancy, and I will go ahead and.
Yeah, my property's on North John Young Road, it's a little less than 20 acres. It's, has nothing to do with the lake, it's on the other side of the ridge from the lake. North John Newton Road follows the ridge, property line runs right down the middle of it, I'm to the west of it. The property was originally owned by my parents. It's about 37 acres, I think, or quarter of a quarter section. And my mother died in 1998. Dad retired to Florida. I asked him to keep the woods, the undeveloped woods, which he divided the lot into two. So that's the property in question. I don't have any use of the lake other than I do like to go on the lake road in the spring this time of year and look for wildflowers. It's a great place for that. But I don't tend to use the lake in any way. When I was in Adam's office, we looked at a map that seemed to show that this property is located at the far northwest corner of the Conservancy District. And I'd like to either make an exemption in my case, this particular case, or possibly amend your boundary lines to exclude my property. Apparently this request has never been made before. Adam said people are trying to get on the district and not off it.
Yeah.
But property is property tax, of course. The fee keeps going up each year. Last year it went up about 26 or 28%, and it's just too big a burden for me.
What is the fee, your Conservancy District fee?
$87.
That's right.
And the conservancy fees
Total?
have been, for the year.
That's per year, yeah. Yeah, we're up 26% this year. Last year, it's $86 now. That's actually, $86 is more than the property tax was for the entire 20 acres when I first acquired it in 2010 from my dad. But
that-
that's because they've changed the farmland exemption. It's no longer considered to be farmland, it's developable.
And our rates have not increased, that would be
Right.
county rates, our rates haven't gone up
No.
since 2008.
Yeah.
Right.
So the county was increasing them.
Wouldn't be there.
Currently, my
I
property.
wish I had your rate.
And the property in question does, essentially is bisected by the conservancy bounds.
Kind of half in, half out sort of thing, is that what you had written?
We had Doug Curry, the surveyor, review it, and I guess that was his opinion, that, because he had the description of my property, and then we sent him your description. We read it too. I never heard from him, but I guess you did.
Adam, what is in, I would assume redrawing lines is a
Mhm.
complete no-no.
No,
I do not think we should.
No, we
even-
have to petition
That would
the
have
court.
to, that would have to go to the court.
Yes.
The
Yeah,
boundaries
okay.
are set by the
That
court.
seems-
And even any addition or removal would have to go through the court. Essentially, you can proposition or talk to the board. And then we would ultimately have to create a resolution for an annexation or leaving the conservancy, which would then go to the court for a hearing, assuming it was approved by the board.
But all the lots have to be contiguous too, so if there's, if you take a property out and it creates a gap between properties, the court's not gonna allow that anyway.
Right.
Will it create a gap?
I was told by the Monroe County Treasurer's Office that all they would need is a letter from your board exempting me from this tax.
Exempting you personally or exempting your property, because, you know, you may not own it, you know, I mean,
Oh,
that's
actually,
kind of an
I'm
issue.
leaving my will to the Sycamore Land Trust. I should have mentioned that.
Oh, okay, which runs right
So then
back
we'll
to our
eventually-
property.
And I believe the county auditor was incorrect
It has
with
to go through
that,
the
that a
courts.
letter will do that. That'd have to go through the court, and there would have to be a public hearing
Mhm.
after a resolution was
Yeah.
passed, if it was passed by the board.
Yeah, that goes back to how the Conservancy, what happened when the Conservancy was formed,
True,
Mhm.
true.
so.
Well, and
I don't like the precedent of removing properties from the
Yeah.
district. I just
I
think
don't
that
either.
that's not a precedent that we want to establish, because while, I mean, I certainly understand your request, it then opens the door for anyone else within the district to make a similar request, and being responsible for the health and fiscal well-being of the entire district, I just think that's a precedent that opens the floodgates, no pun intended, so, well, maybe all pun intended. So I would move to decline the request.
Can I make a comment?
Certainly.
I've been sitting in on these board meetings for a lot of years, and this type of thing has come up before. And
Has come up before?
the feedback that we got from before was the Conservancy District was set up by the state through the courts, and only they can change it. So you gotta
Right.
go back to the state, you gotta go back to the courts.
Right.
It's a long, involved process. It's gonna cost more than $87 a year.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that's just the way it is. And I got a question for you. Do you have crops? Are you raising crops or anything on there?
I'm sorry?
Are you raising crops?
No, it's just woods undeveloped.
So why don't you put it in the classified forest program? And that's only
They have
crop?
restrictions that I don't care for.
No, I understand.
That's my reason for not giving to Sycamore Land Trust now, too. I don't want to put up signs and things. It's just the way it is. It's just woods.
Okay.
I have to say, I hear your request and I, you know, and I understand, but I agree with Michael that this would set a bad precedent.
But if that's a precedent, why hasn't anyone ever applied for this before? Just
Well,
in spite of what he
It would
said.
be establishing a precedent,
Mhm.
and I'm unwilling to support establishing a precedent. And then there, as the gentleman in the audience stated, it's not as easy as us just approving it. It's a significant
Is-
process.
If the main motivation is this $87, you know, like was said, I mean, there are so many pressing issues facing the board right now that I don't think we can put the time and energy and money into trying to go to bat for you, you know? I mean, that's kind of another factor I think you need to consider as well.
They were given, Lake residents were given an opt-out option when the Conservancy was formed.
Okay.
Yes.
And some people did opt out at that point.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was a one-time
Right,
thing because that established the boundaries and that established the tax base
right,
based on the number of homes that were in it.
right.
The tax base is our only guaranteed
Right.
funding source.
That would have been my parents who could have opted out.
Right.
But since then, the land, of course, has been divided, and I don't have any say in the matter. Again, I'd just repeat that I was told at the treasurer's office that all it would require is a letter from the board exempting
Yeah.
me.
It's,
From the
that's not
taxes.
correct.
Well, I think
That
from the-
is not correct.
That is incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have documentation
I
that we
just
can
went through
give
it.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
It's
what
in
you're
there.
also hearing is that there's not a sentiment or an appetite of the board to set that precedent and do that. So even if that's all that was required, I think,
Yeah.
you know, because of the precedents that have been set and what it might mean, I hate to say it, honestly, my honest opinion is that, too, if it was like, I'm paying $5,000, $10,000 a year, and, you know, I mean, part of it is kind of that, that's why I asked you about how much it is, you know,
Yeah.
if it was a huge burden,
Well,
that might be another
It
thing.
does cause my property taxes on that 20 acres to be more than I pay in Brown County for a house and a workshop and 6 and 8 acres.
Yeah,
So it is a burden.
yeah,
And I, of course, I'm retired, very limited income, and I'd like to save that money.
right. But again, the burden is the $87.
Yes. But I, you know, it could go up again. It's gone up consistently, year by year, it seems.
Well, Mr. Keenan, we appreciate you coming before the board. We like to think that we are open-minded. I think I'm hearing at this moment in time, we are not supportive of your request. I apologize to you for inconvenience or hardship. If you, I do think that we're correct on the rules, that the information you got was incorrect. If at some point you reinvestigate and find that we're not right, we would need to know about that, but I think we're standing on solid ground here.
I don't feel I have any recourse at this point, but thanks for
Okay.
your attention.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Excuse me.
Thanks.
Okay, brings us to public comment. Anybody have anything to add to the evening, or you want to go back out in the rain?
How do you?
Oh, hi, Spencer.
I'm Spencer Liger, I live on Spillway Drive. Few questions. One, I got an email.
On Spillway? Is that what you said?
Spillway, yeah.
Okay.
I'm in your district.
Good to meet you.
I got an email about electronic voter registration or registering online.
Yes.
Can I still have to go to Riddle Point to pick it up, or can I go to Laura to pick it up?
If you do online, you will have to come to Riddle Point Park to pick it up.
Okay. Now, let me clarify something. If I buy it from Laura, am I paying more, or
Yes, if you pay by credit card, only if you pay by
only
credit
if I pay
card.
by credit card?
Because we
But
have.
you get a fee,
Yes.
so that means they get less if I buy from you. Is that
We
correct?
still get the same amount
Yeah,
of
they
money.
get the same amount.
Okay.
So they sell our passes and then we go there and cash them out for what we would pay, so we still get the same amount per pass sold to the Conservancy.
Okay.
And this year, I'm still going to sell them during this transition of people signing up online, and hopefully next year, having credit card access and having the permits mailed out will make it easier for North Shore residents. So this year, I will still be selling them. But not online.
You were supportive of
Is
this
there any
move
way
into
that you
this
could
other
give her a
process.
list
You're
of
only
people that
selling
paid so we
them.
could pick them up there? It's not a big deal, obviously.
I don't think so.
Okay. Then okay.
Could you deliver?
The goal is though, next year, I'm in the process of exploring how we can accept online payments. So first we got online, but I'm hoping next year we'll be able to have where you can pay online, and then we can just mail them out to you, so. Streamline.
And we go to the gatehouse still? you know?
Yes, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Now, question, you guys, you talked about Monroe County and Brown County foundations. Is there any separation there, like if Monroe County money has to be spent in Monroe County?
No.
So no matter where they give, you.
It's okay.
It's
you'll
okay.
have
It can be
discretion on
used,
how to
yeah.
spend it.
That's correct.
You can give them both places if you want.
Then you talk about the newsletter, and one thing I'm gonna recommend for the newsletter, when I've talked to my neighbors a lot, I've been going to these board meetings, I think probably I've gone to more board meetings since 2003 than anybody but Bob, and I might be kidding.
So-
And, I talk to my neighbors a lot, and I ask them to come to these meetings, and their attitude is, well, they won't listen to me. Now, their attitude is developed before any of you were here, but that's something that.
Can you help us? Can you help us with,
I try.
you know, because
but-
it is different now.
Yeah, I mean, it's all new board, there's nobody here that was here when I started coming in 2003 or anything, but, just something you might wanna think about. And then as far as the solemn course, I don't know what liability you're concerned about on that. I mean, if you run over one of those with your boat,
Yeah.
it's not gonna hurt anything. That's what, the people that do this run over them with boats
And he
occasionally.
said the buoys are like a nylon shock cord too, so if anything,
Yeah.
just cut the.
And I would like to see it up all
Yeah.
summer myself.
Yeah, no, you're serious about
And I got a group of people that I ski with that will work with them to maintain it. Because they did say they won't be here over the summer, but we'll help them out, because we'd like to use it, so.
All right.
So,
Great.
Oh, and then somebody said that the ski club was having a
Barbecue,
picnic.
barbecue, they're
Yeah.
cooking
When is
burgers.
that?
April 23rd, is that right?
I think it's the 23rd, it's a
So it's in
Sunday.
the mailbox, it's in. it's
They
in
were
your
all
It was just a
slips
flyer.
that were in our mailboxes, and I think I threw mine away.
I saw one somewhere, but I can't imagine it was
I-
in mine.
And I think it is that Sunday, because I'm gonna be out of town.
I'll let you know.
All right, thanks.
If you haven't, Spencer,
We could, I'm
I
just
mean,
weary as.
Spencer, Spencer, have you met these kids, or have you been
No,
here?
I was at the last meeting, we were here. We had to-
Yeah,
well, they left.
if you can go, you should go. They're a delightful bunch, a lot of
I'll
energy.
send you the information.
All right, any further public comment? Thank you, Spencer. There's a lot of comment, but it's not public. Any further public comment? If not, I would announce that the next regular board meeting is April the 26th, so after the barbecue, right back here, Thursday, 6 p.m. And with no other communication necessary, I'd request a motion for adjourn. Thank you. Second?
Second.
I don't want to get with you in
All those in favor?
Please say aye. Aye. Thanks for coming. Drive safely in this monsoon.
I know, I got stuck in traffic, I mean, this town.
Oh, it was awful. I came in the east side because I know Anderson.
Be careful. I know, and
He's like an
then
expert.
there, I was coming to Country Club Drive.
That's just what I need right now, MJ.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, I really
Even better.
No, we haven't.
So my doc's saying, so anytime you get your bar going.
Yeah, you've got, they're gonna start, he's got them starting the 5th.
Oh,
I mean, this week,
Okay, so I don't know, I don't know what his schedule is. No, I told him the hospital, so I got properties down there ready, so.
Take care of.
If you let us know before, then we can be there when it shows
Yeah, I
up.
painted lines on my dock.
Afternoon, Saturday.
Okay, great, so what number should I call?
okay, that's fine.
I'll make it time.
And I do realize I stretched it out by asking all these questions. I really wanted to, I'm not like,
No, you're good. No, it's good. I've really been like.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Thanks, appreciate it.
Every time we have an update of the contracts.
You guys going back to the lake or going?
No, I don't even know if we get there.
I guess I said, I don't know if I know Anderson is.
I feel
I didn't
bad.
look
See,
at
that's
that.
how come, that's the way we have to go, so
You
I'm
guys want to
afraid we
kick me off,
can't.
so. I mean, I want to stay on it, but I don't
Going up by
want
the creek, going out to the east. It was at close to the road, so.
Did you go down to Anderson?
No, I don't go, I didn't, I came the east way because I didn't go out, but even going through there, the creeks are going so hard, and getting close to the road, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Put him to work.